Happy Sunday afternoon, everybody. It's time for some magic. Actually, there we go. Sorry, I had to rush something. Okay. Let's see. Yes, okay, I actually have sound. I was concerned for just a split second, but it just wasn't showing up like I wanted it to. Okay, well, if you're here and you've never been here before, then what I do, so I'm countertop commander, and I play in real chord, like guitar. No, I play real card magic. I play all of the decks at the same time, and especially on Sundays, what we do is we sort of do kind of beginner decks. So these three decks are decks that I specifically built for teaching how to play Magic, or just having decks for beginners, people that don't have their own cards and don't know really what they want to play or how they want to build, or even if they want to own cards or not. So this is just a way to allow everybody to kind of do their own thing and have fun and not have to stress too much about deck building and things like that. So Sundays I kind of dedicate to kind of explaining how to play Magic and going through a lot of the steps of strategy and I don't know, multiplayer politics and stuff like that. And then on Wednesdays, I play complex decks, and I do less of the explaining every single step. I'll explain steps anyway a lot of the time, and that's just because I need to get it right, and not because I think anybody will actually listen. But yeah, so we're going to play these three decks. We have Hydras, which will be the first one. Our second deck is Demons, and our third deck is Dragons. So I'll go ahead and explain what some of these decks are. So they're monocolored, so that there's 5 colors of Magic. We only are going to use one color of Magic for each of these different decks. So this one is green, there's a black one, and a red one. The green colors in Magic are really good at ramping, getting a lot of mana very quickly. This deck hopefully will be able to have some of that. There's actually 2 different green decks that ramps a little bit better than this one does. So this one in particular is just going to be about getting out big Hydra monsters, and that's what our commander is. That's kind of our general for this deck is a Hydra, a legendary Hydra. So we're playing a specific style of Magic called Commander, which is different from the regular rules of Magic. We have a bigger deck size. We do a thing called Singleton, which means that we can only have one of any card unless it's a basic land. And our entire deck has to be the same colors as our commander. So basically our commander leads an army of its own color scheme, essentially. And in addition to that, I've made this particular deck be kind of focused around Hydras, and the idea for that is that they're aggro. It's a type of strategy called aggro where we aren't necessarily looking to stop players from doing their thing. We're trying to beat them up faster than they beat us up, and all of these decks are primarily aggro decks. They may have individual sort of strengths in how they do things. This Hydra deck, its strength is enchantments. We're going to try to play a bunch of different enchantments that help support this big monstrosity that we have right here. So to begin the game, we will... Well, I guess I can explain about the commander. So the commander itself is a 6 cost, so the cost is up in the top corner here. So it's 6 cost, which is 3 colorless and then 3 green, which means... So the 3 colorless just means that we can use any color of mana to pay for it, or pay for that cost, or we can use colorless mana as well. But then the other 3 mana to cast it, to be able to play it, needs to be green mana, 3 of those. So 6 mana total. It's an 8/7 creature, so it's actually a pretty big creature. I guess I could probably put that on screen here. Maybe might be good to start sort of doing this. So yeah, there we go. So In the bottom right corner, it's an 8/7, which is its power and toughness. So power being the amount of damage it deals in a turn, and the toughness being how much damage it can take each turn. In addition to that, it has vigilance, and it makes it so all of our Hydra... vigilance isn't the same thing. It's the next. The next line is that Hydra spells you cast cost 4 colorless less to cast. So all of our Hydras, once we get this guy out, all of our other Hydras are going to be really cheap to play. And then whenever a creature we control becomes the target of a spell, then Gargos, he gets fisticuffs with another creature that I don't control. And when that happens, basically, they attack... this Hydra, I target another creature, and that creature and Gargos take damage equal to its power and toughness. Equal to its power, so Gargos is going to try to eat another creature whenever we get targeted by something. Which is really good, because it means that it's essentially built-in removal on each of our cards. Well, I mean, on each of our cards, because we can target our own things with stuff, and I don't actually have one of those in my hand, but... Anyway, so that's Gargos. With the green deck here, I kind of wanted to give Gargos another chance. Gargos and this demon deck some more chances to really shine. So on our starting hand, we have a kind of heavy hand with mana. So we have a 5 cost, a 4 cost, and another 4 cost. Fine, and then also a 2 cost. So really our hand is going to be a little slow, but the thing that's really good about this hand is that we're starting with 3 mana. So we're actually just 1 mana off from being able to play this 4 cost spell, which is it searches for 2 forest cards and puts them onto the battlefield. So it's actually a ramp card, which once we get 4 mana, we can play this, and this gets 2 more mana, which will be enough to cast Gargos, which is what we're aiming for and why I decided to take this hand. Like, it is a little slow, but the people that we're up against presumably will also have somewhat slow starts, so hopefully we're not going to be overtaken. After we do that, after we play Gargos, we will have Chameleon Colossus, which has protection from black, which means that it can't be hurt by the demon deck over there. And then we also have this Garruk Primal Hunter, which is a Planeswalker, and he's going to allow us to draw a bunch of cards, hopefully, before he dies. We'll have to wait and see, but the plan here is that he's going to be able to draw us a bunch of cards, and hopefully after we get Gargos out, because he draws cards equal, or he allows us to draw cards equal to the power of a creature. So we could, if we needed to, we could play Gargos 1 turn, and then the next turn we play Garruk and use him to draw 8 cards. So that's going to be really, really strong. So that just kind of still all hinges on drawing another land. So I'm really hoping we draw another land. So, okay, so turn order, what happens is first there is an untap step. And that just means that whenever you use a card for its energy for the turn, then we represent that by tapping it. So essentially it's just a reminder so that we know when something's been used or not been used. But since we don't have anything on the battlefield, we don't have anything to untap. So that's what would happen during the untap step, is after everything has used their energy, at the beginning of your next turn, everything untaps, they regain their energy for the turn. Or for the round of turns anyway. But we don't have anything there. After that is an upkeep step. We can just pass by it. It's just kind of a cleanup step for abilities to happen at the very beginning of a turn. So we don't really have a ton of those, but there can be some. So we don't skip that step. It's just that kind of there's not much to do with it. So, or especially not at the beginning of the game. So after that, you do a draw step, which is the first draw card that you draw for the turn. We got a Protean Hydra. So our first Hydra, well, I guess Chameleon Colossus is technically a Hydra. So that's not a land, unfortunately, but we will go and put it into our hand. And then after that, after the draw step, we go to our main phase 1, which is the phase where you are able to play cards and activate abilities and stuff like that. Play a land for the turn, so you get to play 1 land each of your turns. So we're going to go ahead and do that and play a forest. And after that, we don't have anything else to do. So normally we could choose to go into our combat step. We don't have any creatures, so we can't go into combat. But if we did have a creature, then we could choose whether or not we wanted to go into combat. And if we do that, then after the combat step, there is another main phase 2, so that after you do all of your attacks, you can do stuff after that. And then finally, a end of phase turn. So we don't have anything, so we're just going to skip straight to the end of phase and pass the turn. Our next deck is piloted by, or commanded, I should say, by a general known as Villus, Broker of Blood, who is a demon. Let's go ahead and do Villus here so we can see him. So he is a 8 cost creature. So you can see in the top left or top right corner is his cost. It's 5 colorless and 3 black. And then in the bottom corner he is an 8/8. So he's just as strong as Garruk is, which is really cool. He otherwise has an ability called Flying, which means that he can, whenever he attacks, he can't be blocked by things without flying. So that's good for attacking Gargos, but our last deck has flyers, and a lot of them. Well, the second ability is pay 1 black and 2 life. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. So he can essentially reduce a creature's power and toughness until it can't block effectively, or even outright kill it if it needs to. And then finally, the real reason we have this as our commander is we have an ability that reads, whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. So essentially, when we activate Villus's ability, we will pay a black, 2 life, give something -1/-1, and then immediately draw 2 cards because of its ability. So this deck, this demon deck, is all kind of built around trying to take advantage of losing life and drawing cards. And the reason why that's good, and it doesn't seem like reducing our own life total would be a good idea, but the thing is that if we draw more cards than our opponent consistently, then it means that we will be able to quickly find the cards that we need to be able to win. So essentially, if you kind of think about each card in your hand being an opportunity for something to happen. So if we have 5 opportunities to do things and our opponents only have 2 each, then that means that we have the advantage in the game. We have the card advantage. We have more options for doing stuff than our opponents do. And that puts us in a better position to win ultimately. So that's what we're really aiming for. That's what we're really gunning for, is that essentially we are going to take a bet that we will be able, even while we lose life, we are going to be able to draw the cards we need to quickly win before our opponents take the rest of our life total out. So that's what we're going to try to do. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So let's see what happens. And I guess I can explain our first hand here. So we are also starting with 3 lands, which is going to be really good for us. Villus really needs as much mana as we can. Unfortunately, we don't have any ramp in our hand. Not exactly, anyway. We have this guy called Dream Devourer, which is another demon. He has an ability that allows us to essentially pay 2 mana of any spell 1 turn, and then the next turn we can pay for the rest of the mana for that spell reduced by 2. So we have this 7 cost card in our hand. So essentially what Dream Devourer will allow us to do is we'll pay 2 of the mana 1 turn, and then the next turn we'll untap, and we can pay the other 5 mana to be able to cast the spell. So it's sort of making things at a reduced cost. And because we're paying for it, it's just a kind of a slower way of doing things, but it allows us to not have to have a full hand of, or a full land count to be able to cast something that's 7 cost. So we're really going to hinge on this guy doing stuff. These two are really just support cards. They go with, well, the Brood of Cockroach is really the support card, but hopefully we'll be able to see Elvis the Binding Blade come out because it has a really cool ability that it has a sneaky little feature that doesn't seem apparent on the front face of the card, but we'll get there. And then finally, if we do need to push a panic button, we do have this card called Ritual of Soot. It has destroy all creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less. So it would kill off our Dream Devourer, but if we're kind of getting overrun because somebody else has gotten a bunch of little creatures out, then we could use this card and kill off a bunch of creatures, hopefully. We'll see. These decks are meant to be sort of big tribes. They have big creatures rather than small creatures, so it may not be super effective at everything, but there are smaller creatures in each of these decks, so I guess we'll wait and see. So let's see, we go untap, upkeep, and then draw. So we'll draw for the turn, and it is Doom Whisperer. So this is what I was talking about. So with the Dream Devourer, so this is another demon that's 5 cost, but with Dream Devourer, he'll essentially be 3 cost because we'll reduce his cost by 2. So that's a really good start. We'll go ahead and play a land for the turn, and then we will pass because we do not, like I said, we did untap, upkeep, draw. Main phase 1, we're skipping our combat and going straight to the next deck. So the next one that we have is Lathless Dragon Queen. If it wasn't apparent, this is a dragon deck. Well, I guess my stream title also says it, but this is a fairly well-tuned dragon deck. Our Dragon Queen right here, let me go ahead and put her up as well. So as you can see, it's a 6 cost, so it's one of the, well, I mean, Villus is 8, Garruk is 6, we're also 6. So we're a dragon that's a 6 cost, 6/6 dragon that whenever we play another dragon, we get a free dragon on top of that. And we can pay a cost to make dragons we control stronger. So that's what it's 3 abilities: flying, create dragons, make dragons even stronger. So that's what we're going to try to do, is basically we have a really straightforward strategy. The demons, they're trying to lose life so that they could draw more cards. The Hydras are playing enchantments. They're trying to use their Hydra to eat up all of our creatures. Lathless, super straightforward. We like dragons, and we want to see more dragons, and we want to set the world on fire. So that's what we're going to try to do. And with that being said, our starting hand is a little odd. It's a little different from the other ones. The other ones started out with 3 land. We are starting out with 1 land, actually. And there's a good reason for that. And that reason is we have Soul Ring. So Soul Ring is a 1 cost artifact that taps for 2 colorless mana. So we're going to get really good use out of our Soul Ring in order to get to the mana that we need to cast other things. We still need another red mana to be able to cast Lathless, so hopefully we'll get there. And to sort of help us get there, we have Tormenting Voice and Honor the God Pharaoh. So both of these, we discard a card. We pay a cost at the top. We pay a mana cost. We also have an additional cost of discarding a card. So what we'll do is we'll use this card, discard a card, and then we'll draw 2 cards. And hopefully by drawing cards, we'll be able to get to the other land that we need. Because, and I say because, we have, in addition to that mana, we also have Semblance Anvil, which when we play it, we get to exile a card from our hand and cause every card that we play after that to be 2 less mana for that specific card type. So what we'll do is we have a creature in hand. We'll most likely exile it in order to make all of our dragons cost less. So that's sort of our plan going forward with this hand, and hopefully we'll be able to draw the other mana that we need, and we'll be able to just skyrocket ahead of other people because we have the most ramp out of any of the hands that we've seen so far. So for our first turn, we do untap, upkeep, and then we'll draw for the first turn. Our first turn draw is Herald's Horn. So it is one that it's an artifact that costs 3. And when it comes into play, we choose a creature type, which is going to be dragons. And then whenever we cast a spell of the chosen type, it costs 1 less to cast. And then at the beginning of our upkeep, we look at the top card of our library. If it's a creature card of the chosen type, we may reveal it and put it into our hand. So this is a way to also just draw extra cards when we need to. So we have multiple choices on what we can do for our upcoming turns. We will go to our main phase and play our land for the turn, and then use it to cast our Soul Ring. So let me go and take Lathless off the screen now. So that is our first round of turns. Let's go back over to Gargos and see what Gargos can do for us this turn. See if Gargos is going to be able to make a showing. I think it was last week we tried to play, or no, maybe 2 weeks ago we tried to play Gargos, and it just had a lot of trouble for some reason. So hopefully we're not going to have the same kinds of trouble again where we just aren't drawing any mana to really do anything. I'm really hoping that's not the case. So untap, we don't have anything to untap. Upkeep, draw for the turn. And there is Appetite for the Unnatural, which is it's an instant spell that allows us to destroy an artifact or enchantment. That will be really good for, well, if the dragons get too far ahead, we can use this card to kind of cut them off of some of their artifact ramp. For now, we will, in our main phase 1, we'll play our land for the turn, and then we will go ahead and get out Leering Emblem while we can. So Leering Emblem is an artifact. It costs 2 colorless to play, and it's an equipment. So what we can do is once we have a creature out, we can equip this onto the creature. And it has, whenever you play a spell, equipped creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So essentially what we're going to do is we'll try to equip it to Gargos and have we'll try to target something with Gargos or just play a spell. Hopefully we'll be able to target Gargos, and Gargos will get +2/+2 and make it even stronger for when it tries to eat an opposing creature. So we'll keep that in our pocket as something that will help us out later on, but for now we'll just go ahead and pass the turn. We don't have any creatures and we don't have any mana left, so we'll just keep going. Our next deck, the Demons. The Demons, we kind of already know our game plan. We'll untap, upkeep, and then draw for the turn. And our draw is another land. That's really good, and even better, it's a land that it can add a black mana for each basic swamp we control. So if we get a bunch of swamps out, this card will be really, really good. So we will play a second swamp. We will pay 2 mana and cast Dream Devourer. So, like I said, it has this funny ability to essentially reduce the cost of stuff, and then once we do, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So let's go ahead and pass. We don't have anything else. So creatures, whenever you play a creature, they can't attack. It's not Yu-Gi-Oh! Where creatures just, you play them and they automatically do stuff. Creatures in Magic have a thing called Summoning Sickness, so they can't attack the turn they come out. You have to wait a little bit. You have to wait until a full turn, a round of turns has happened, and then they can attack. So we're going to go ahead and pass on to the dragons and see what kind of mischief these dragons are going to get themselves into. So we do have an untap. We will untap our mountain. We have no upkeep, so we'll draw a card for the turn, and there's a second mountain. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want to see, because we are going to pay 1, 2, 3, and we will play Semblance Anvil. And when we do that, we will exile the Dragon Master Outcast, and now creature spells cost 2 less. So next turn, we're going to be able to play our commander. Unless somebody stops us, we will be playing our commander very early. We've reduced its cost so much, essentially. We've reduced its cost, but we also have the Soul Ring to help us get where we need to be. So we are in... Well, everybody else is in a world of hurt, unless they do something. And that's kind of where we're at right now with Gargos. So Gargos actually can put an end to this, and most likely will. And even with a ramp card, we can't allow Lathless to come out this early. So we are going to untap. Upkeep, so we'll draw a card for the turn, and it is Return to Earth, 4 mana to destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Ooh, this is this is what we'd like to see. Okay, so we are going to play our 3rd land, really hoping that our next turn we draw a land instead of not a land. But we are going to play Appetite for the Unnatural, destroy target artifact or enchantment. We are destroying the Semblance Anvil, and then we gain 2 life. So we are at 44 life, or 42 life. So normally, Magic, the regular rules for Magic, you start at 20 life. In Commander, you start at 40 life. So you have double the amount of life to do stuff with. So we are at 42 now because we gained 2 life from the Appetite for the Unnatural. We are tapped out. We don't have any other mana. So we are going to go and pass to the next turn, having successfully stopped that nonsense. Villus' turn. So Villus is going to untap, upkeep, draw. Dragon, or Blood Speaker. So Blood Speaker is an Ogre Shaman, a 4-cost 3/2, so 3 colorless, 1 black. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice Blood Speaker. If you do, search your library for a demon card, reveal that card, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your library. Whenever a demon comes into play under your control, return Blood Speaker from your graveyard to your hand. So that's a really cool card. At the moment, though, we already have something that we want to do. We really want to get this Doom Whisperer out. Because Doom Whisperer has this ability. Well, it's a 5-cost 6/6 demon, blah, blah, 3 colorless, 2 black. It has flying and trample. So the flying, again, is the ability that allows you to not be blocked. If the opposant, if a player has defenders and all of those defenders don't have flying, then Doom Whisperer can't be blocked. And then trample is that whenever we deal damage, if it's being blocked by a creature, and that creature has less toughness than we have power, then the difference between those 2 numbers is dealt to the defending player. So we're trying to get other people's life totals down to 0. So if we attacked with Doom Whisperer and they blocked with a creature that only had 2 toughness, then the other 4 damage, since it's 6 minus 2, 4, the other 4 damage would go to the player that's trying to protect their life total. Anyway, so those aren't the important abilities. The important ability is pay 2 life, Surveil 2. And Surveil means that we look at the top 2 cards of our library, then put any number of them into your graveyard and the rest on top of your library in any order. So essentially that's going to help us get to the ramp that we need. So we only have 2 other lands, so we need to get up to 8 somehow. So because we can't use Dream Devourer to help us get out Villus, but we can use it to get out stuff that can help us get to Villus. So that's what we're going to aim for. We will probably go ahead. So the other thing could be that we do the Dream Devourer's ability for Elbus, but we're not at 5 mana yet. So we really need to get to that 5 mana first. It makes more sense to go ahead and pay 2 and exile Doom Whisperer face down, so that next turn its cost will be reduced by 2, and we'll be able to play it for 3 mana. After that, we don't have anything else that we can do. All of our mana is essentially tapped out, and Dream Devourer is a 0/3, so he's not dealing any damage by attacking, so we'll just go ahead and pass to the next turn. And go to the dragons that sadly had their Semblance Anvil destroyed. The creature that we exiled stays exiled, so that's just like removed from the game permanently, essentially. So we will untap our cards. We will upkeep. We don't have an upkeep. We'll draw a card for the turn, and it is Hellkite Charger. Oh, that's really cool. But it is not. It's not a land, so we don't have any lands for the turn. Instead, we are going to just go ahead and do 3 mana, so Soul Ring for 2 and 1 red, to play Herald's Horn, and this is the card that reduces costs for the creature type we choose, and we're going to choose dragons, of course. And then at the beginning of our upkeep, if we see a dragon on the top, we get to draw. Essentially get to draw 2 cards instead of 1. So since we have that, we have 5 mana. We're still 1 down from being able to get to our commander. We really need to draw 1 more land, and then we'll be golden. So we are passing the turn and going back to the Hydras and crossing our fingers that we get to that 4 mana, because we really need the 4 mana now. We've had 3 draws. This is our 4th draw. We need to draw another land. Is it another land? Untap, upkeep, draw a card. It is not a land. Well, shoot. Unfortunately, all of the cards that are in our hand, we really don't like. We don't really have too much that we can do with this stuff. Unfortunately, like 4 cost, 4 cost, 4 cost, 5 cost, 8 cost, and then this Hydra that's only really good if we can get a big value to be able to cast it. So if we play it now, it'll only be a 2/2, which is not really good enough for pretty much anything. So, yeah, I guess that's it for the turn, fortunately. Man, okay, so it really does sound like I need to revisit this Gargos deck. Maybe that's what we'll do next week. Let's go ahead and take apart the Gargos deck next week, and we'll see what the big deal is, why we keep having so many problems with it, because it seems like there's some kind of inherent problem that I missed, and maybe I just had a lot of good games with it when initially testing. So let's go and untap for the Demons deck. No upkeep. We will draw a card. Strands of Night. It is an enchantment, 2 cost, or 4 cost, 2 colorless, 2 black. It has pay 2 black, 2 life, and sacrifice a swamp. Put target creature card from your graveyard into play. Wow. Holy cow. Wow. Okay. We are going to play another land. We will pay 3 mana here to cast our Doom Whisperer, so that we have our big demon out, and we will go ahead and use its, well, we're going to use its ability, but it's safer to wait and use its ability at a different point. So we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to get out a dice to keep track of life, so that at the end of the Hydra's next turn, we'll activate Doom Whisperer's ability. And we're doing that because it's essentially the last available opportunity before somebody can do something about it. So we really want to essentially bait somebody trying to kill the Doom Whisperer, before we get really good use out of it. So we're just going to hang on to it for now. But because we used Dream Devourer to cast this card, Dream Devourer will actually get +2/+0 until end of turn. So now it is a 2 power, 3 toughness, so we can attack a player. So now the choice is, do we attack or do we hold back? And I think a lot of times I say hold back when it's the beginning of the game with politics. And the reason that I say that is because you don't want to make too many enemies too quickly. But we are at turn 4 now. Everybody should be having 4 lands out at this point. Now, the other 2 decks don't, but and so essentially that's going to feed into our analysis of what to do. So we're looking across the table and seeing at turn 4, should somebody be attacked, we really should be attacking at this point. We see the Gargos deck. They did help take out the demon, or the dragon's ability to get Lathlus out early, but Lathlus is still really close. Especially if they draw a land this turn, then they'll have Lathlus out this turn. Now, looking at the Hydras, the Hydras didn't play their 4th land. And in fact, they didn't play anything. So it kind of seems like maybe they're a little bit in trouble. And we could attack a player who looks like they're in trouble, but at the same time, I typically go for the player that has more chances of stopping me from damaging them later because of, because they might get strong cards out. And Lathlus is a really strong card. So I think the demons are ahead at this point, and really we want to try to take down the demons, or the dragons, sorry. The dragons are the dragons are ahead. Based on what I'm seeing at the table right now, they have the mana to basically get out Lathlus at any time. So we're going to not be able to attack them with Dream Devourer next turn if they get Lathlus out. And also being ahead means that it just seems like they're going to be more of a threat to us. So we're going to go ahead and declare Dream Devourer as an attacker against the dragons. And the dragons are going to not be able to block anything. They don't have any creatures out, so they're going to take 2 damage and be at 38 life. Then after that, we do not have anything else that we can cast, so we will pass the turn. So the dragons are going to untap. Let's see. Untap. Upkeep. We actually do have an upkeep. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it is a creature card with the chosen type, it is not, then we would get to put it into our hand. But otherwise, nothing happens. It just stays on top. We don't actually reveal it. We're the ones looking at it, but we will go and draw it for the turn, and it is a land. So we will play that land. Now that means that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 mana. So now we are going to cast Lathlus, and we have a big 6/6 dragon out, just like the demons thought would happen. Now, I think that, let's see, we don't really have anything else that we can do. It might have been prudent to hold back a turn and play something else, like play Dragon Tempest and maybe Tormenting Voice. That is a choice that could have happened. I think that getting out, putting pressure when we have the chance to, is probably going to be a good thing to do. So we're going to go ahead and get Lathlus out now, especially with a 6/6 demon. I don't think that the demons are going to really want to swing into my dragon, and my dragon would die, certainly, but they would also lose their demon, and I think they actually do want their demon out because of its ability to surveil. So I think they're not going to attack me now that I can essentially apply pressure this way. So we're going to pass the turn and move back to the Hydras. And let's see what happens with the Hydras. This could be a 2-person game for a while. So we don't have anything to untap, no upkeep. We will draw a card. That is close. That is a ramp card. Unfortunately, it's all that we can do this turn. So it is an enchantment called Wild Growth. Costs 1 green. I guess we could put it on one of these lands, but we don't have anything else to cast this turn, unfortunately. So Wild Growth is a enchantment that has enchant land, and then whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds an additional green. So this will mean that come next turn, we actually do have 4 mana because this will tap for 2 mana. So thankfully, we're not like completely out of the game. We're just a little behind. So we will go to pass the turn to the demons, and the demons at the end of the Hydra's turn are going to activate Doom Whisperer. They're going to do that by paying 2 life, and then we surveil 2. So we look at the top 2 cards of our library, and we decide if we want them on the top or the bottom. So let's see here. both of these cards are really good. We do want the land, but I'm kind of wondering if maybe... If maybe we want to put this into our graveyard, just because this card, while a land, and we do want the land, it isn't a swamp, and we're really kind of hoping for more swamps if we can, because it'll mean that Cabal Stronghold gets us more mana in the long run. So I think we're going to go ahead and put this on the bottom, or we're going to get rid of it, I think. I think that's what we do. Well, I guess we could get out Elvis the Binding Blade if we arrange this correctly. Maybe that's worth it. Maybe we... Well, I don't know. I guess we can still do that with Surveil another turn. So we're not going to be able to get out... Yeah, let's go and do it this way. So we're going to put Dunes of the Dead into our graveyard and leave Reanimate on top. Reanimate is a really, really strong card. We'll see. Hopefully we'll be able to see Reanimate do some nastiness here. So we will untap for the turn. There we go. Everything's untapped. We will draw a card, so we know what card we're drawing. Then we are going to exile 2 different cards. We're going to go ahead and pay 2 to do Dream Devourer's ability to put Elvis the Binding Blade here, and we're going to pay 2 more and put Strands of Night also. So essentially those cards are kind of isolated from the rest of the game. Nobody can really touch them. We can still cast them whenever we want to, even if we don't have Dream Devourer out. So that's kind of the advantage of Dream Devourer, is now nobody can mess with those cards as long as they're in exile this way. So now I think that we want to see... I would attack with Doom Whisperer, but I think that if we attack with Doom Whisperer, then Lathless will probably attack us, the dragons, next turn, and I don't really want them to do that. So I think that I'm going to go ahead and pass the turn, because we can activate his ability, Doom Whisperer's ability, whenever we want to. So we can block with Doom Whisperer and then use its ability until we get the next land that we need to cast Elvis next. So I think that's kind of what we want to do, is we'll just hold off and do it this way. So we'll go ahead and pass the turn without doing any more damage to ourselves or anybody else. So Lathless's turn. What is Lathless going to do? We have a few different options here. We'll untap. At the beginning of our upkeep, we look at the top card of our library. It is not a dragon card, so we will just draw this card for the turn during our draw step. Now, Tormod's Crypt is really cool. It's going to be really useful against the demon deck, because black decks always have the ability to reanimate things, and this card removes graveyards from the game, so we'll be able to stop them from reanimating stuff when we need to. So this turn, I feel kind of like what we're going to do this turn is actually, we could play another dragon, and I really want to, but I think we want to draw cards instead, and I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to, let's see, well, we're going to play Dragon Tempest first, for sure. So we'll play Dragon Tempest. So Dragon Tempest is a 2-cost enchantment, 1 colorless, 1 red. Whenever a creature with flying enters the battlefield under your control, it gains haste until end of turn. So this is a diversion from the normal rules. So normally creatures have summoning sickness, but if a creature gains haste, then they can attack the turn they come out. And then whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of dragons you control. So we're going to really deal a lot of damage next turn, because what we're going to do is we're going to cast a dragon. It's going to come into play, activate Dragon Tempest to deal 2 damage, and then Lathless is going to create another dragon, and that dragon is going to deal 3 damage to something. So we're going to really go crazy with that here shortly. We're also going to, just because we can, since we don't have enough mana to cast our dragon anymore, we're going to cast Honor the God Pharaoh. So as an additional cost to cast the spell, discard a card. We're going to discard the Tormenting Voice. So then we get to draw 2 cards and amass 1. So amassing is creating what is it, like a 0/0 zombie and then putting a +1/+1 counter on it. So let's go ahead and get our zombie out. Zombo. I don't... Got it. Some hair. And then... just like lifeless eyes here. There we go. That's starting to look not like super zombie-ish, but here, gotta get some Zombo. I'm trying to think of how to portray zombie. Smelly? There we go. We'll just say he's like smelly because he's a zombie. What's a little fly here? No, that doesn't look like a fly. Black. With some wings. There we go. That's kind of like a fly or something. So now we have a Zombo. And this is just... the reason I'm doing this one instead of Tormenting Voice is... Tormenting Voice and Amass do the same thing. They have the same effect, except that getting a little zombie out could help us if we need to block something. So the 2 cards that we drew were another land... or was a land and a Planeswalker. A Planeswalker that does a lot of cool stuff with dragons. Nice. We will go ahead and play the land for the turn because we are very behind on land and have been drawing them. So let's go ahead and do that. And we can attack with Lathless. So the question is, do we attack now or do we hold off? I kind of think we hold off because we do have a dragon to play with Hellkite Charger. And that's going to just dominate people next turn. So we will go ahead and leave it as is for now. And let the Hydra deck go and see what the Hydra deck can manage to do. Okay. So, let's see. What does the Hydra deck have? Let's untap for the turn. And draw a card. So, it is a forest. Finally, a forest. A land. So many turns too late. Okay. So we have a few choices now. We could play a creature that has protection from black. We could play a bigger Protean Hydra. That might be okay. We could do a ramp card. Or we could do this destroy target artifact enchantment or creature with flying. So we could destroy Lathless or Doom Whisperer. And then we finally have Garruk because we actually do have 5 mana now. I think that Garruk is better when we have creatures out, so I'm going to hold off on that. Protean Hydra, like I said, is really good when we can get a really big number on it. So we're going to wait until we get Gargos out for that. The Return to Earth is really, really tempting now. There are good creatures with flying out. My problem is that they haven't attacked us yet. And I'm kind of content on holding this card until the exact right moment to screw up somebody's plan. So we're going to put that over here. So our choice now is to ramp or to play a card with protection from black. The thing is that the protection from black only works if it had flying as well, and this guy does not have flying. So he's not going to be able to protect us from Doom Whisperer, which is really the big issue. So I think I'm going to hold off on that for now. Because this is essentially our trump card. What we can do is we can try to plan around killing off the dragons quickly, and then playing this card and making it really, really difficult to get rid of it. So I think our smartest plan here is to go ahead and ramp because then that guarantees next turn we're getting Gargos out. So we'll go ahead and get 2 forests from our deck into play untapped. We need to shuffle a little bit, and then we'll see what happens from there. We will pass the turn because we won't have enough mana to play anything else. So let's see. Surprisingly, haven't played very many enchantments. I said there's enchantments in this deck, and they are. We just haven't gotten there yet. Okay. I think that's enough shuffling. So there we go. That's our cut. And we will put these into play. And now we have nothing else that we want to do. That's it for us. We actually have another trump card in hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're 1 mana away from playing it. This is going to be a key to getting us ahead. So we're just going to hold off on that for now. Maybe if we draw a land next turn, I think that we go ahead and play it over Gargos, which is very surprising, but it's really, really good. So just wait a second. We'll see. So we are back to the demons. So the demons will untap for the turn. They will draw a card. It is Hell's Caretaker. So this one is a creature that allows us to sacrifice another creature and put something else from our graveyard onto the battlefield. So basically it's you do a switcheroo. You take a creature that you have out, and you get a creature that was already dead, or has been dead. So that could be good if we lose Doom Whisperer, and actually, I'm doing this out of order, because we actually did want to use Doom Whisperer to get the next land. So we're actually, at the end of their turn, I forgot to do this, we're going to pay 2 life and see if we can't get a land, and there's our land. We actually will, I guess let's go and put Hell's Caretaker into our graveyard, and this will be the card that we draw for the turn. So we will play that land, then we will pay 5 mana to cast our Elvis Blade, the Binding Blade. So it has 7 mana to cast, 1 to equip. So next turn we'll equip it to something, and equipped creature gets +1/+0. When equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, unattach Elvis the Binding Blade, then transform it. You're gonna like what's on the backside of this. It's a doozy. It's a bit good. So we're just going to not act like we didn't get a really good card out. And we're going to pass the turn again, and we're not going to let anybody in on our little secret that we have going here. So, Dragon's turn. Dragons are going to untap for the turn. During our upkeep, we get our Herald's Horn. So we look at the top card of our library. It is not a dragon, so we'll just go ahead and draw this card during our draw step. We will play the mountain. Let's see here. So we do have Sarkin Fall. And I think, honestly, we want to go ahead and play it. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to pay 3 mana and cast Sarkin Fireblood. Sarkin is a planeswalker, so he's kind of a... Planeswalkers are a little tricky. The way that they work is they start out with a number of loyalty counters on them. In this case, 3. So they start out with 3. This guy starts out with 3. And then he sort of acts like a player. He has some abilities that he can activate, and we can activate one of them once per turn. Only one of them once per turn, and only if we can pay the cost that the card shows. And in this case, he has a +1 ability, a +1 ability, and then a -7 ability. So we can't use the -7 because we'd have to remove 7 loyalty counters from him. So we need to get up to 7. So we're going to use the other abilities to try to get there. Excuse me. So the first plus ability is you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Well, we kind of like the cards that are in our hand, so we probably won't use that one. The second one is +1 Add 2 mana in any combination of colors. Spend this mana only to cast dragon spells. we have a dragon here. I think we may want that one. That ability seems good, I think. And I think that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So we're going to add a counter here. I guess I could say, so the reason that we want to get to 7 is because the -7 ability is create 4 5/5 red dragon creature tokens with flying. That's why. It's going to be super sweet when we activate that ability. But for now, we're just going to add 2 red mana to our mana pool. Then there's 2 more for 5, or for 4, and then this mana is 5. So we'll have 1 left over because Hellkite Charger costs 6 normally, but our Herald's Horn reduces the cost. So we are going to play Hellkite Charger. When it comes into the battlefield, we get 2 things happening. We get to activate, we have an activation from Lathless, and we have 2 activations from Dragon Tempest. So I think actually what we're going to do is we're going to have Lathless create a dragon, a 5/5 dragon. So here is our 5/5 dragon. It comes into play, and it activates Dragon Tempest as well. So here's how it works. We played Hellkite Charger. Then we had 2 Dragon Tempest abilities and 1 Lathless ability. Lathless, we had Lathless happen before the Dragon Tempest ones, which created a dragon. But when that dragon came to play, it caused 2 more abilities to trigger from Dragon Tempest. So now we have 4 of them to activate, or to resolve, I should say. 2 of them are just giving things haste. So both of these dragons now have haste. So let's get rid of these 2. Now we have 2 more, and each of them say, whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of dragons you control. So we get to deal, when the trigger for this one resolves, it's going to deal 3 damage. When the other one resolves for Hellkite Charger, it's also going to deal 3 damage, even though it came into play before this one did. And that's just how the stack works. Because we chose to resolve it in the way that we did, this is what's going to happen. So we get to deal 6 damage to anything we want to. And wouldn't you know, there might be a creature that we don't like very much that could possibly maybe have 6 toughness. I wonder which one that could be. Could it possibly be that these demons over here have maybe a demon that has 6 power? So we are going to deal 6 damage total, 3 damage twice to Doom Whisperer to try to kill it. So I think what that means is we are going to go ahead and, in response to that second trigger, we're going to pay 2 life to activate Doom Whisperer. Look at the top 2 cards of our library. I think that we really want the black market, but that's going to be tricky. It's going to be really tricky here. So, oh, man. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and put Dreadhorde Invasion into our graveyard and this back on top, and then Doom Whisperer is going to die. So there we go. We do not have Doom Whisperer anymore. He is deadzo. So now dragons are still getting to go. We want to hold off something to block. So I think what we want to do is we're going to hold off this zombie from blocking. And all of our other dragons, because we want to block our Sarkhan Fireblood in case somebody attacks it. So we're going to attack using these 2 dragons. And like I said, those 2 dragons, sorry, these were representing to help resolve Dragon Tempest. Okay. So these 2 dragons are going to attack the demons. And this other dragon, even though the Hydra deck hasn't done anything to us yet, we know that at some point they are going to get Garrus out, and that's going to be a problem, and we need to do something about it. So we are going to attack with Lathless against the Hydras, and hopefully someday they will lose the game. Because right now we are piloting the dragons, and we want dragons to win. For sure. Absolutely. So, because Lathless dealt direct damage to the Hydra deck, the Hydras are going to take not only 6 damage, but also we're going to have to count up 6 commander damage from the dragons. So when it comes to commander, the commander format for Magic, if you take 21 or more damage from a single commander, you lose the game. So if we attack 3 more times using Lathless against the Hydras, then the Hydras will lose the game, even if they don't lose their entire life total. Okay, so 10 damage is going towards the demons. They are at 24 life. The Hydras are going to take 6, so they are at 36 life. Because they were at 42. So 6 minus that becomes 2. 36. Sorry. Let's see. So, is there anything else we want to do? We have our blocker for Sarkhan in case somebody attacks. Maybe Dream Devourer. I mean, maybe with Dream Devourer. And now, I think that's all we can do. So we're just going to go ahead and pass the turn to the Hydras. We have Scorched Earth. We are now political enemy number 1 for this table. We are well ahead of everybody else. Nobody else has quite as much stuff as we do, which seems to happen a lot for dragons. Honestly, if I'm being honest, dragons seem to poke their snoot out and attack people pretty rapidly. So we're going to untap all of our cards, all of our lands anyway. We don't have an upkeep, so we will draw a card for the turn, and looky there. That is the card that's going to hopefully seal our fates for everybody else. That is 8 mana. So we would play Garrus, but honestly, we need to play this other card because, let me tell you, Sandworm Convergence, 8 cost enchantment, 6 colorless, 2 green. It has creatures with flying can't attack you, or planeswalkers you control. Both of the other decks are hinged heavily on flying creatures. They will now no longer be able to bother us with them. They cannot attack them with us, use them to attack us. And then at the beginning of our instep, we create a 5/5 worm creature token. So not only are we going to stop them from being able to do anything to us, we get free 5/5 worms each turn. I kind of wish they were Hydras, but it's worms. I mean, it's kind of close. So we will end the turn, and at the end of our turn, we get a 5/5 worm. So let's see. Let's go and do something like this, with like a kind of a mouth and maybe some teeth. Do it like worm. Kind of get some ground going there, and rubble built up around it from breaking out of the ground. And then maybe some little dots for like sand, right? It's a sandy area because this is obviously a horror movie, a very particular horror movie. Tremors, if you didn't know. That's what I'm alluding to. Okay, we have sandworms. Now we're, oh man, this is great. This is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted out of this card. And it took a long time for us to get there. But now we could have possibly just sealed everybody else's fate. Okay. So the reason I say that, okay, so it may not seem like that necessarily. It could seem like, oh well, yeah, they have that enchantment, they can't attack, but like certainly these decks have the ability to destroy an enchantment, like a little measly enchantment. I mean, the green deck definitely did it. Well, here's the thing: enchantment destruction is primarily in two colors of magic, white and green. Red has virtually no enchantment removal. Black has very, very, very little. Blue can kind of do it because they have the ability to bounce permanents to to their owner's hand, so they could play a spell that basically just delays it for a turn. But with red and black, they basically have no ability to do it. They have to have like colorless cards that destroy target permanents. So unless we find one of those, and I think that there could be at least one in each of these decks. I think that I put them in there. We still had to find it, and these decks are very, very big. So really the only way we're going to be able to do this is if the black deck draws a card that allows it to search through their entire library to find something. So we are going to untap. We're going to upkeep. We don't have anything. We'll draw a card for the turn. It's black market. We sort of knew that that was coming up. Let's see. What can we do though? What do we have the ability to do? Because unfortunately, I think that we're a little screwed here, and yeah, we have to deal damage with Elvis Blade to be able to get its effect. And unfortunately, this thing turns into something that has flying. So we have to get through to that deck, but like we really got to get there. So I think what we do, I don't know. I guess let's go ahead and play Black Market now, and we're going to try to do Ritual of Soot next turn to get a bunch of cards destroyed, and hopefully that'll be enough to like use Black Market to do something. Like, I'm not sure what else we can really do here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure what else we're doing. So that's just going to have to be how it is. And we pass the turn. We can't really attack. We can't really do anything else. So very unfortunate there. Let's untap with the dragons. The demons are in a really bad position. The dragons are in a great position, other than not being able to deal damage to the to the Hydra deck anymore. So we will untap. During our upkeep, we get a Herald Horn trigger. It is not a dragon, so we're just going to draw this for our turn. Let's do this. Let's activate Sarkin Vol to discard a card, and if you do, draw a card. We're going to discard that mountain in order to draw a card. And see, so red, this is a card called Smash. It's a 3-cost instant. 2 colorless, 1 red, destroy target artifact, draw a card. So red's primary ability for destroying things is lands and artifacts. We don't really have a lot of options here. We could smash the Elvis Blade so that it can't be used against us, but that doesn't really help us any. So all we can really do is just kill off the demon deck as quickly as possible, and then hope that maybe we find the card that we need to take out the Hydras, because I think that we're just going to get overwhelmed sooner or later. Now, that being said, as long as we keep drawing cards, then hopefully we can use Dragon's Tempest to deal direct damage to the Hydras quickly enough so that we can still do it, because they're not protected. The Hydra deck isn't protected from Dragon Tempest. They're just protected from us attacking with dragons. So, let's see. So let's go ahead and do this. We are going to attack with all of our dragons after the demon deck. So that's going to be a total of 16 damage, which puts them down to, let's see, so 4, 6... They are down to 10 life. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So we are actually going to, during our second main phase, so like I'd said, you do main phase 1 where you can activate abilities and play lands and cast spells. Then you do your combat step. And then after that is another main phase where you can, again, play a land if you haven't. You can cast spells or activate abilities. We are going to activate Hellkite Charger's ability to pay 7 mana. So whenever it attacks, well, I guess when it attacks, we'll activate this. So when it attacks, you may pay 7 mana. If you do, untap all attacking creatures. And after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So we're getting an additional combat phase. And we're going to use that to attack for 10 more damage and deal that 10 damage to the demon deck. And the demon deck is now kaput. They are done for. They are dead, unfortunately. They couldn't quite get off the ground with the dragon deck just going straight for their throat. So I guess what we're going to do is we're going to take a moment here to... Now, we could have mitigated that a little bit, but we weren't sure. We could have mitigated that by using cards to bring back our Doom Whisperer. So that was an option. That was something that could have delayed losing the game for one turn. But would it have been really enough? And it doesn't really look like it would have been, because that's not a card that would have got us out of this game, got us out of this mess. So we're going to have to just pack it in and shuffle, reorganize just a little bit to get these dragons a little closer to the Hydra deck, so that we're not spinning this table too much. So hang on just a second. Let's do this, and then dragons will move right here. Actually, we'll just slide this over like this, and then our hands, our dragon-y creatures. We still gotta get our Zombo here. We have Sarkhan over here with 5 counters. And then all of our lands. So there we go. We've transitioned into a 1 versus 1 game now. So it is the Hydra's turn. So the Hydras are going to rotate just a little bit. Let's untap. And during our upkeep, we do not have anything, so we will go straight to draw. And it is Genesis, so that's not too bad. Let's go ahead and use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana in order to cast Gargos. So now we have a really cool Hydra out, finally. Let's see, do we want something else? We could play Chameleon Colossus. We could play the Protean Hydra. We could equip Leering Emblem. We can't play Return to Earth. So maybe, let's see. Let's go ahead and do this. We will pay 2 mana here. So 1 green and then another green to play Protean Hydra. But because it's a Hydra, its cost is reduced by 4. So Protean Hydra costs X and a green. So we get to choose what X is. And then we have to decide. We decide how much it is, and then we pay that cost. So I'm going to choose X equals 5 because we paid 1 green for it, and then it costs 4 less. So we don't have to use that mana because of Gargos. And what happens is Protean Hydra comes into play with a number of counters equal to X. So it is a 5/5 Hydra. So that's how we get its power and toughness, because its printed power and toughness is 0/0. So if you paid 1 green and 0 for X without Gargos out, let's say Gargos wasn't out, if I only played 1 green, then it would come out with X equals 0 counters. So 0's counters, and it's a 0/0, it would just automatically die. We don't want that. We want a Hydra that stays out. So it has an ability, if damage would be dealt to Protean Hydra, prevent that damage and remove that many +1/+1 counters from it. Whenever a +1/+1 counter is removed from Protean Hydra, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it at the beginning of the next end step. So, if we attacked with Protean Hydra, then let's say it got blocked by a, like a 1/1 creature or something. So after combat, it would take a damage and then, it wouldn't take any damage. It would just remove a counter. So then at the beginning of the end step, it would gain 2 more counters and be at 6. So essentially, it's kind of like that classic Hercules story of cutting off a Hydra's head, 2 more grow back in its place. That's what Protean Hydra tries to emulate there. Now, we don't really have too much else to do for the turn, so we are going to end the turn, because we're not going to attack. We could attack, but they have Lathless out. That's a 6/6. It would just kill our worm. We don't really want that. We're just going to pass the turn and get another worm. We're going to hopefully overwhelm our opponent with worms very shortly. So we're passing to the next turn, which is the dragon deck. And the dragons are hoping to last just like 2 more turns, and then we'll be good. Probably, hopefully, maybe. So let's untap. During our upkeep, we get a Herald's Horn trigger, so we look at the top card of our library. It is not a dragon, so we'll just go ahead and put it into our hand. Let's see. I think what we need to do is we need to try to draw as many cards as we can to get to a dragon. So let's go ahead and activate Sarkhan Fireblood. So we pump him up 1, we discard a card, and if we do, actually, we'll keep Palladian Mirror. We'll discard the Tormod's Crypt. We'll draw a card. It is not a creature. So let's go ahead and pay 3 mana. We will cast Smash to destroy the Leering Emblem, destroy target artifact. So Leering Emblem is destroyed, and when we do that, we draw a card, and looky there, it is a dragon. We want this dragon. So let's play a land. We will pay 3 mana in order to cast Opportunistic Dragon. So, let's see, do they even have any artifacts left? And it doesn't look like it, so that's fine. So, Opportunistic Dragon has... Well, it has its own ability. It's a 4 cost, 2 colorless, 2 red, 4/3 flying dragon. Its cost is reduced by 1 because of Herald's Horn, so that's why we paid 1 less for it. Let's see. We paid 1 less for it. So when we do that, we get 2 triggers. Like I said, we get 2 triggers from Dragon's Tempest and 1 trigger from Lathless Dragon Queen. So we will go and resolve the Dragon Queen one first, which gets us a dragon, which will then put 2 more triggers for Dragon Tempest onto it. 2 of those are involved with haste, so we're not really bothered too much with it because we can't attack. Then, let's see, we get to deal damage 2 times equal to the number of dragons we control. So we have 5 dragons out, so we get to deal 5 damage twice, which we will use to just deal it directly because I'm pretty sure, yes, target creature or player. So we are going to deal 10 total damage to the Hydras. They are down to 26 life. And then Opportunistic Dragon does have an ability, so when it enters the battlefield, choose target human or artifact an opponent controls for as long as Opportunistic Dragon remains on the battlefield, gain control of that permanent. It loses all abilities, and it can't attack or block. So we could have, used Smash to get control of Leering Emblem and make it so they could never use it until Opportunistic Dragon went away. But this is a little bit better, in the sense that we got to draw a card from Smash, and that card did draw us into Opportunistic Dragon. So let's just, I think we'll pass the turn. We'll just leave up a bunch of blockers so that they can't kill our Sarkhan Vol, because we need 2. So sorry, we need 2 more turns. I said 2 for this turn. It's actually 3 turns for this turn. So now it's 2 left. We need 1 more counter on Sarkhan to be able to get to the 7 that we need to activate his ability. And the reason why that's important is because he puts a bunch of dragons into play, and makes it so that Dragon Tempest just obliterates their life total. That being said, so let's untap with all of this stuff. We'll draw a card for the turn. It is Mighty Emergence, so that's pretty cool. I mean, that'll be cool for later, but for now, we really want to pay 4 mana and cast Return to Earth. 4 cost instant, 3 colorless, 1 green. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. We're going to destroy the enchantment Dragon Tempest. So now it's possible that the dragon deck is in really, really big trouble. Because yes, this will stalemate for a while, but sooner or later, we will have enough cards to take everybody else out. So yeah, we're going to do that soon. We're going to use Garruk Primal Hunter for that. But for now, we don't have too much else that we're going to do other than we'll just go ahead and activate this for Mighty Emergence. Mighty Emergence is a green enchantment, 3 colorless, or it's a 3 cost, 2 colorless, 1 green. Whenever a creature with power 5 or greater comes into play under your control, you may put 2+1/+1 counters on it. And that is exactly what we're going to do. We are going to end the turn. We get another worm. Well, I think I may have to draw another worm here. So this worm gets 2+1/+1 counters on it. Give me a second. There we go. 2+1/+1 counters. And we will make another one of these guys. So now, from now on, these Hydras are 7/7s instead of 5/5s. So, mouth. Let's make it a little bit bigger mouth so I can see the teeth. And let's make it like have like a little suckery face type thing. And let's see, there's the worm part of the face. The worm body. I'll just leave it at that for now. It's breaking out of the ground. We kind of... Well, I don't know. I feel bad now that I see the other one has, like, landscape in the back and such. There we go. So now we have another worm. 2 counters on it. And we just are going to keep getting more and more of those. So let us pass the turn. We can't really attack favorably against the dragons yet, but we will be getting there. So let's see. What can the dragons do? What can the dragons do? Untap. Upkeep. Look at the top card. It is not a dragon, so we will just put it into our hand. Let's go ahead and give Sarkenvault another counter. We will discard a card and draw a card. Ruby Medallion. Not looking great. Not really what I was hoping for, but we will go ahead and cast it just in case it does make a difference later sometime. Hopefully. Possibly. Okay. That's all we can do for the turn. We are just going to pass. We can't really attack or do anything else. So, Hydra's turn. Hydras and worms, baby. Untap. Upkeep. Draw a card. It is Overgrowth, another ramp card. Okay, well, we can work with that. Let's see. So, 1, 2, 3 mana to cast Overgrowth on another one of our lands. Now it taps for 3 mana. So we will 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we will cast Garruk Primal Hunter. So Garruk Primal Hunter, he's another planeswalker. So let's go ahead and get him some counters. Here's a good one. So he starts out with 3. We are going to pump him 1 loyalty up for his first loyalty ability, which is create a 3/3 beast. So let's go ahead and make another. We're just making a ton of things here. I should have gotten something for this. Let's see. So 3/3 beast. Lion? Maybe some kind of like terrible lion looking thing. I have no idea what I'm doing. Oh, this is awful. This is a bad idea. This is a very bad idea. I guess for not knowing what, like how to draw a lion, basically. Yeah, this is awful. This is spectacularly awful. So this is some kind of beast, that's for damn sure. There we go. That's our beast. Oh my god. Okay. Well, that's a thing. That is definitely something, that's for sure. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of morph all of these because I put the enchantments on two basic lands. It doesn't really matter which basic land it is as long as I know which one is tapped and which one isn't. So I'm just going to group them all together now to make it a little bit easier to tap this mana. We still have 2 mana left over, so let's go ahead and pay 2 mana to go ahead and get rid of more cards out of our hand. Chameleon Colossus. So just in case we need to do something later, at least now you can see I do have enchantments, and they are good enchantments. We just had to get to them, and Garruk is going to get us to more of them. So we're going to pass the turn and get another 7/7 Hydra into play. Let's go and do this. We'll probably start attacking with worms to try to help cull the amount of dragons that we're up against, hopefully soon. So we go to the dragons, untap, upkeep. We look at the top card. It's not a dragon, so we'll just draw it. We'll activate Sarkin Vol for his ability to discard a card, draw a card. It is actually a dragon. So we want to make it as difficult as possible to get at us, essentially. That's what we're going, that is going to be our goal here. So we are going to go ahead and play another dragon and get another dragon token here. So now we have that. They don't do anything, but there's still something. So actually what we could do here is we do have mana. Let's go ahead and pay 4 mana. No, wait, we can't because it's basic. Oh, it's non-basic land destruction. Oh, so we can't do it. We can't destroy those forests that have a lot of mana. Okay, well, I guess that's it for the turn. We just have a ton of blockers. So Territorial Hellkite is a 4-cost flying haste dragon. So it's a 6/5 for 4, 2 colorless, 1 red. And it's forced to attack each turn, but because we can't attack, let's see. If you can't choose an opponent this way, tap Territorial Hellkite. Not if it doesn't attack. So it didn't attack at all because it can't attack. It can't be declared as an attacker as long as Sandworm Convergence is out. So Hydra's turn. We are untapping, drawing a card. It is a forest. That's fine. We'll go ahead and play that forest. Then do we want to? We'll hold it in hand for now because we are going to activate Garruk Primal Hunter's second ability, draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. Our greatest power, well, actually, so what we can do here, let's go and do that. I want to go crazy. We're going to go absolutely bananas with this. So we're activating Garruk's ability, but in addition to that, we're going to activate Chameleon Colossus's other abilities. So Chameleon Colossus, you can pay 4 mana, and it gets +X until end of turn, where X is its power. So we're going to activate, let's see, this is 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so we needed 4 here. This is another 4. We're going to activate its ability 2 times, and by doing that, it's going to get first +4/+4. So now it's an 8/8. Then it's going to get +8/+8 and becomes 16 power. So we're going to, since that's our biggest power for the turn, we're going to draw 16 cards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. How crazy is that? So now we're going to play a land for the turn. Actually, yeah, we're going to play a land for the turn. That land right there. Now we get to decide what else we want to play. And I think that what we want to play is another Hydra. A Hydra that's going to be really good. It's going to really help us out. And well, we want to play some of the... We have a bunch of creatures in our hand now. And we kind of want all of them, but we can't really use all of them quite yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and play one Hydra this turn. We're going to pay 3 mana to cast Hungering Hydra. And its cost is... So it's an X. It's another X in green, just like the Protean Hydra was. So the X in green, for X, we're going to have 2 green mana and then the 4 from Garruk. So that's 6 total. That means that it's going to come into play with 6 counters on it. Let's go ahead and get those 6. Actually, we need something a little different. We need a bigger sided dice. A more sided dice. Let's say... Yeah, does this show up pretty good? That shows up decently enough. Okay, so it comes into play with 6 counters, but then because it's 5 power or more, it comes into play with 2 additional counters. So now it's an 8/8. So this Hydra, Hungering Hydra, enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters. It can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. And then whenever it's dealt damage, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. So it grows just immediately. Instead of having to wait until end of turn with Protean Hydra, Hungering Hydra just immediately gets the stuff. So let's see here. We can attack with things this turn if we want to, if we choose to. And maybe we do want to because we have 2 7/7 worms, a 16/16 worm. I think that probably qualifies us for going ahead and attacking and trying to clean out some of the dragons that are out there. So let's attack with 2 7/7s and the 16/16. So the protection only works if it's a black creature. In this case, they don't have any black creatures. Well, they do. I guess they do have one. They have the amassed creature. So how are the dragons going to block? Like I said, we want to retain as many dragons as we possibly can. And unfortunately, none of these creatures have trample, so we're not too concerned quite yet. So let's go ahead and we will block with all of the dragons that are weak, I guess. Let's say that. So 2 of the tokens and the Opportunistic Dragon are going to block. And that means that we take no damage, but we're down a lot of dragons. So we definitely need to draw dragons as soon as we can, hopefully with Sarkhan. So let's see, is there anything else that we want to do for our turn? We could try to... The dragon deck could try to kill off worms, but that's the problem, is that they're going to get another free worm next turn. So we really don't want to waste dragons while Sarkhan is drawing us extra cards each turn. We want to keep drawing as many cards as we can. So we're not in a desperate state where we're trying to kill off creatures, unfortunately. We're just trying to get to something that can destroy Sandworm Convergence. Okay, so now we want to see about discarding cards that we don't need. We're going to discard Genesis. We're going to discard Nature's Lore. We're going to discard Monsterfy. Let's get rid of a forest. Let's get rid of another forest. We need to get down to 7 cards. That's why we're having to discard. Return to Nature is really good. I think we want to go ahead and keep that just in case there's another artifact that comes out. Let's see. Genesis Hydra is really... Well, actually, okay, so we have Beast Within. Let's go and keep Beast Within and get rid of the Return to Nature. So now we need to get... We have 10 cards, so we need to get rid of 3. I think this is one of the weaker Hydras, so we'll go and get rid of that one. Mist Cutter Hydra is also another one of the weaker ones. It has haste, so we could put a bunch of mana into it and make it a really big one, but I think we want to hold back on that. Genesis Hydra is really good. Shape of the Wittigo is going to be really good. We can't get rid of this one. Hydra Broodmaster. Yeah, this is a pretty hot card I want to wait on. So let's get rid of the last forest that we have. So we do have 1 land in hand, but we want to wait to be able to activate it on a turn where we can deal the most damage with it, because they can get rid of it with the land that they have. Since this is a non-basic land, we don't want them to destroy it before we can use it. So we really want to set up where we can use it immediately. I think that might be it for the turn. So at the end of the turn, we get another 7/7 Hydra right here. And pass. Let's see. What can the dragons do? I'm kind of rooting for the dragons just because this is a really rough situation. You shouldn't give up in case there is something that we can do. So let's go and untap. If you think at all there's the possibility that you could get out of a situation, try to take as many chances as you can. So Herald's Horn trigger during our upkeep. It is not a dragon still, so we're going to put it into our hand. We're going to activate Sarkin Vol to discard a card, then draw a card. That is a dragon. That's great. So we will pay 2 mana to play Archwing Dragon, which gets us a token dragon. And we will end our turn, and Archwing Dragon has a special ability that at the beginning of our end step, at the beginning of each end step, we return it to our hand. So that's how we're going to be able to at least get 1 dragon onto the battle, 1 extra dragon onto the battlefield each turn. It's not going to last for very long, but it's at least something. We have 5 dragons now instead of the 4 that we had last turn. So that is something. So let's go back to the Hydras. Hydras are going to untap here, untap all of this nonsense. We will draw a card for the turn. It is Nature's Way. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, that's a card. Yeah, so we're going to just go all out now. Well, there's no reason not to. So that's 1, 2... 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So 6 mana to be able to cast Vigor. Vigor is a really amazing card. 6 cost 6/6, 3 colorless, 3 green. It has trample, and if damage would be dealt to another creature you control, prevent that damage. Put a +1/+1 counter on that creature for each 1 damage prevented this way. When Vigor is put into a graveyard from anywhere, shuffle it into its owner's library. Oh boy. That's not at all like super busted all over the place. So now that we did that, we're going to pay 2 mana and cast Nature's Way, targeting Gargos. So Gargos is going to gain, well, yeah, let's see. No, do we want to... Yes, this is what we want to do. This is exactly what we want to do. Okay, so Nature's Way targets Gargos. In response, because a creature that we control got targeted, we get a Gargos trigger that goes on top. That happens before. So Gargos is now going to fight a creature we don't control. We're going to fight Lathliss Dragon Queen. So Lathliss Dragon Queen and Gargos are both going to deal damage equal to their powers to each other. Gargos is going to deal 8 damage to Lathliss, and Lathliss is only 6. So Lathliss is definitely going to die. Lathliss, in exchange, is also going to deal 8 damage from Gargos, 6 damage from Lathliss. So Lathliss dies, but Vigor protects Gargos from being able to die. So Gargos is going to get 6 +1/+1 counters instead of taking 6 damage because of Vigor. Now, Nature's Way activates, or resolves, I should say. So target creature you control gains vigilance and trample until end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. So we are going to deal 6 damage, or sorry, we're going to deal 14 damage to a creature that we don't control. We're going to go ahead and kill off Hellkite Charger. And Hellkite Charger is now Dunzo. He's dead. And now we have a 14-13 power creature with vigilance and trample. So now its damage is going to go directly straight through. What else can we do? Let's go ahead and do... We're going to pay 2 green and play Colonia Hydra. It is a Hydra that... But its cost is normally 5. It's reduced because of Gargos. It's a 0/0 with trample, but it enters the battlefield with 4 +1/+1 counters on it. So let's go ahead and put those +1/+1 counters. And it has, whenever it attacks, double the number of +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Okay, now that Vigor is protecting everything. Well, I guess let's go and do this. So we're going to +1 Garruk to make another beast token. Okay, so now All Out War. Everything is attacking. Or everything that can attack is attacking. So we can't attack with Colonia Hydra, Vigor, or the beast we just created. We can attack with everything else. So do this, do this. These all attack 2 5/5 worms of 3/3 beast, Gargos, Protean Hydra, Chameleon Colossus, Hungering Hydra, and 3 7/7 worms. Let's see how much damage that is total. So, well, let's see. Let's go and choose to block. We have 3 dragons to block with, so we can block 3 of the biggest things that they have. So Gargos is going to just pile into us. So we can't really do much about that. I mean, the trample damage will block some of the trample damage, but the rest of the damage is going to go through. So it would be better if there are creatures that have greater power than we have toughness. You know, like, we want to try to block as much damage as possible, and we do that by choosing creatures we can block the full amount of damage from. So Hungering Hydra is one, and 2 of the 7/7s are the other ones, because the rest of these are less than that. They're the next like the next most amount. So, oh, and Gargos has Vigilance. So Vigilance just means that it doesn't expel its energy attacking. It stays on attack and defense every turn. So let's see. So if we take out Hungering Hydra and we take out 2 worms, how much damage do we have left? We have 14 damage from here, 7 damage from this, 21. So let's see, 21, 24, 34, 35, 39 damage. That is 1 more damage than the dragons have life. They are at 38. So, man, that was that turned around really quick once we got the mana that we needed. Well, and also played Sandworm Convergence, because otherwise we were going to just totally faceplant. I suppose it also helped that we had the enchantment removal that we needed to stop Dragon Tempest, which was like the next thing that the dragons could use to really stop the game. So let's see what else we could have done that might have helped us be able to do something. Let's see, how far away were we from a card that could help us win the game? Well, we had Bogarn Hellkite deals direct damage. Akum Hellkite deals direct damage. Let's see. Well, yeah, direct damage without attacking. Spitflame. Oh, Spitflame only does damage to creatures. Let's see. Yeah. I think the dragons may need to see if there's something they can do about that, because it doesn't actually look like they have the ability to take out an enchantment at all. I thought that maybe I put something in that could help with that. but it's starting to look... This is direct damage, but only if it's... Well, it's twice the amount of goblins it devours. So if we made any goblins, then we could do something about that. Dragon Roost would have at least helped us out a little bit, but really not too much. Here we go. So Sarkhan's Unsealing could have helped us deal a lot of damage. Yeah, because we could have been able to start... We could have... Whenever we cast a creature spell, it deals damage, so that would have been good. And Scourge of Valkos was really low, and it deals direct damage when you play dragons as well. It's like another Dragon Tempest. So we did have cards. I guess we do have cards that could get us out of this situation, but they were all like midway through our deck. So, wow, that's really good. That's what I like seeing the Hydras. I guess it's kind of it's like flood or drought with this Hydra deck. Either it does really, really well, or it just kind of flops around. So maybe, I think it's still probably worth at least investigating the deck next time. We'll just take a look, we'll dig into it and see how it's constructed, and see if there isn't any improvements that we can make to it that might help us out a little bit. So anyway, we're verging in about 2 hours now, so I think I'm going to go ahead and call it. My mouth is a little dry from talking for 2 hours straight, so... thank you all for watching. If you had a good time, just let me know. I'm happy to rearrange this or, like do things different. I try to, like I said, I try to explain everything that I'm doing so that it makes sense and see my reasoning for it. And I'm not saying that my reasoning for things is necessarily perfect, but that's why, I like to hear input if you have any. So thank you all for watching and have a great weekend. We're going to go ahead and close up now. So goodbye.